The battlefield was filled with fire and smoke. The sky above the alien city burned with strange colors as ships traded beams of energy. Buildings shook as explosions tore through the ground. Dust and heat made it hard to breathe. Mark, a human soldier sent to help the alien allies, moved quickly across broken stone. His body armor was scratched and heavy, but he kept running. He had seen many battles before, but nothing like this one. The enemy was strong, their weapons sharper than any human army had ever faced. Yet Mark had promised himself he would not run. Through the smoke, he saw a group of alien guards struggling to protect someone important. In the center of the group was a young woman, tall with glowing silver eyes. She wore a long blue robe marked with the crest of her people. Even among the chaos, her presence was bright, almost like a star. Mark realized at once who she was. The alien princess, heir to her people, and the only hope for peace. The enemy must have known it too, for they targeted her with every strike. Her guards fought bravely, but the attackers were too many. One guard fell, then another. The enemy closed in. Mark's instincts screamed at him to help. He pushed through the rubble, lifting his weapon and firing at the advancing soldiers. His shots scattered them for a moment, giving the guards space to regroup. "Get her to safety," Mark shouted, though he did not know if they understood his words. The princess looked at him, her eyes wide with shock. She had never seen a human up close before. Before anyone could move, the air grew hot. High above, an enemy ship circled, its weapons glowing brighter. Mark's heart sank. He knew that glow. It was preparing a deadly blast, one that would destroy everything in its path. The guards realized it too, and panic spread through their ranks. The beam fired. Time seemed to slow. Mark saw the wall of energy racing down toward them. The guards tried to shield the princess, but they were too far. There was no cover, no escape. In that single moment, Mark made his choice. He sprinted forward with all his strength. The world roared around him, but he kept moving. He reached the princess just as the blast struck. Without thinking, he wrapped his arms around her and pushed her to the ground. His back faced the burning light. The force of the explosion was like a mountain falling on him. Heat tore through his armor, burning his skin. The ground cracked beneath them, and the noise was louder than thunder. For a brief instant, Mark thought he had failed. Then he felt the princess beneath him, alive, shielded by his body. That was enough. Darkness closed in on his vision. His breath grew shallow, his body heavy. Pain spread across every nerve, but he held his ground. He did not let go. His last thought before the blackness took him was simple. At least she is safe. The battlefield fell silent around him. The blast faded, leaving a crater of glowing stone. The princess lifted her head slowly, staring at the human who had thrown himself into the fire for her. His body lay still, burned and broken, yet his arms still shielded her. Her guards rushed forward, pulling her away with shaking hands. None of them had expected this. None of them understood why a human, a stranger from a distant star, would give his life for their princess. But they could not deny what had just happened. Mark did not hear their voices. He did not see the tears in the princess's eyes. He had fallen into silence, carried away by the darkness of unconsciousness. Yet his story was not over. Mark's eyes opened slowly. His vision was blurred, and every muscle in his body ached. He felt as if fire still burned inside his chest. For a moment he could not remember where he was. The last memory that returned to him was the blast, the heat, and the princess's silver eyes. When his sight cleared, he found himself lying on a soft surface, not on broken stone. The ceiling above him was curved and shining, made of silver metal that seemed alive with faint light. Strange patterns glowed along the walls, shifting like gentle waves. He was not on the battlefield anymore. He tried to move, but sharp pain rushed through his arms and legs. His body was wrapped in bandages made of glowing fabric. The air smelled clean, filled with herbs and unknown scents. Mark forced himself to sit up. At once, movement filled the room. Alien guards stepped closer, their weapons pointed at him. They wore tall helmets shaped like wings, and their armor shone with blue steel. Their eyes glared with suspicion. Mark froze. There were at least 10 of them surrounding him in a circle. They looked ready to strike at the smallest mistake. Then he noticed her. The princess stood behind the guards. Her silver eyes were steady, and her robe was clean though her face showed signs of exhaustion. She spoke quickly in her own language, her voice calm but firm. The guards lowered their weapons slightly, though their hands did not move far. Mark breathed slowly, trying to gather his strength. He raised his hands, showing he held no weapon. His voice was rough, but he spoke clearly. "I am not your enemy," he said. The guards did not understand the words, but the princess did. She stepped forward. "You saved me," she said in broken but clear human language. Her voice carried gratitude, yet also worry. "But they fear you. They think you are part of the attack." Mark's heart sank. He had risked his life, and still suspicion surrounded him. He shook his head. "No, I fight against them. I fight for peace." The princess looked at him for a long moment. Something in his eyes convinced her. She turned to the guards and spoke quickly again. This time her tone was sharp, filled with command. The guards hesitated but obeyed. Their weapons lowered, though their eyes stayed cold. Mark tried to stand, but his legs shook. The princess stepped forward and offered her hand. Her touch was soft yet steady. "You should rest," she said. "Your body is weak." He nodded, sinking back to the bed. "What happened after the blast?" The princess sat beside him, folding her robe neatly. "The shield of your body saved me," she said quietly. "When the light faded, you were not moving. My guards carried us to the healers. You slept for 2 days. 2 days." Mark felt both relief and worry. Time was slipping, and the enemy would not rest. The guards whispered among themselves. Some looked at him with doubt, others with anger. Mark could sense their thoughts. Why would a human throw himself in front of death for their princess? Why would he fight for people not his own? One guard stepped forward, his voice harsh in their language. The princess listened, then turned to Mark. "He says you are dangerous. He says you could be a spy who acted to gain my trust." Mark shook his head firmly. "I would not give my life for a trick. I chose to protect you. That is all." The princess held his gaze. For a moment, the room was silent except for the hum of the glowing walls. Then she stood tall and spoke to the guards once more. Her words carried the strength of command. The guards lowered their heads in respect. Mark understood. She had defended him. Still, he knew his place was fragile. Trust could break as quickly as glass. The door of the chamber opened, and an older alien entered. His robe was long, lined with gold, and his face carried the weight of wisdom. The guards bowed deeply. The princess also lowered her head slightly, showing respect. "This is a member of the council," she told Mark. "He decides who can be trusted in our land." The elder stepped closer, studying Mark with sharp eyes. He spoke in their language for a long time, his voice low but firm. The princess translated. "He says you must prove you are not with the enemy. He says words are not enough. He demands proof through action." Mark breathed deeply. He had little strength, yet he understood what was at stake. If he failed, they would treat him as a prisoner. If he succeeded, maybe they would see humans differently. "What action?" he asked. The princess hesitated before answering. "There is a hidden threat. A shadow of the enemy remains near our city. The council believes only someone who stands outside our people can find it. They want you to face this trial." Mark forced himself to sit straighter despite the pain. "Then I will face it," he said. The elder's eyes softened for a moment, almost in surprise. He nodded slowly and left the chamber. The princess looked at Mark with quiet concern. "You are brave, human soldier. But are you ready? You almost died saving me. Now they ask you to risk your life again." Mark gave a tired smile. "If my life can bring trust between our people, then it is worth it." For the first time, the princess's expression softened into something more than duty. She bowed her head slightly. "Then I will stand with you." The guards exchanged uneasy glances, but none dared question her. Mark lay back, staring at the glowing ceiling. His body was weak, but his spirit was steady. He had crossed the line between stranger and protector. Now he had to prove himself not only to the princess, but to her entire world. The trial ahead would decide everything. The next morning came with the sound of distant drums. Mark opened his eyes to find the chamber filled with light from the alien sun, which poured through tall crystal windows. His body was still weak, but the healers had wrapped his wounds in new bandages that glowed softly with energy. The air was fresh, and for the first time since the blast, he felt a little stronger. Two guards entered, their armor shining. They did not point weapons at him this time, but their faces were still cold. One of them spoke firmly in their language. The princess stepped forward to translate. "They say it is time," she told him. "The council waits for you." Mark nodded. His legs ached when he stood, but he forced himself upright. His duty as a soldier was clear. He would not show weakness. The guards led him through long silver halls filled with strange carvings. The designs told stories of old wars, lost heroes, and kings who had defended their people. The walls themselves seemed alive, glowing with quiet energy. Alien citizens stood at the sides of the road as he passed, whispering and staring. To them, he was not a hero but a mystery. Some bowed slightly in respect, others turned away in doubt. Finally, they reached a great chamber. The council sat on high seats carved of stone and crystal, each elder wearing robes lined with gold and silver. Their eyes followed Mark as he entered, sharp and heavy with judgment. The princess stood beside him, her head held high. The eldest counselor raised his hand, and silence fell. His voice was deep and steady as he spoke. The princess translated once more. "He says you must prove your loyalty. He says any stranger can speak of peace, but only true courage can show it. Your trial will test both your strength and your heart." Mark lifted his head. "What is this trial?" The counselor's words rolled through the chamber. The princess listened and then turned to him. "A shadow of the enemy hides in the ruins outside the city. Scouts fear to go there, for none have returned. The council asks you to face this danger. If you survive and bring proof, they will trust you. If you fail, they will know you are not worthy. Mark let the words sink in. The ruins could be filled with traps, soldiers, or worse. Yet he had no choice. He looked at the council and spoke with calm strength. I will do it. The chamber filled with murmurs. Some councillors looked surprised, others doubtful. The eldest councillor nodded, his eyes still sharp. The princess stepped closer and whispered. You do not have to do this alone. I will come with you. Mark turned to her in shock. But you are the princess. Your people need you safe. Her silver eyes held steady. My people also need to see that I believe in you. If I stay behind, they will doubt. If I walk with you, they will understand. Mark hesitated, then gave a slow nod. Then we face it together. The guards looked uneasy but could not disobey her. The council, after long whispers, allowed her choice. By noon, Mark stood outside the gates of the city. His body was wrapped in lighter armor, repaired by alien smiths. The princess wore a robe fitted for travel, its fabric strong but graceful. A small group of alien warriors joined them, their expressions hard but watchful. Mark could feel their doubt like a heavy cloud, yet he also felt their curiosity. The journey to the ruins began. They crossed wide plains where the grass shone with a silver hue under the sun. Strange birds flew above, their wings glittering like glass. Mark kept his weapon ready, scanning the horizon. The princess walked at his side, speaking sometimes to the guards, sometimes to him. She told him stories of her world, of cities built on floating islands, and rivers that glowed at night. In return, Mark spoke of Earth. He described blue oceans, forests of green, and the sound of rain against rooftops. The guards listened in silence, though a few seemed softened by his words. By nightfall, they reached the edge of the ruins. Broken towers stretched into the sky, their tops jagged and sharp. The ground was cracked, filled with shadows. A cold wind blew through the stones, carrying whispers of the past. The princess stopped and looked at Mark. This is the place. The enemy hides here. Be ready. Mark nodded. They entered the ruins carefully, moving between fallen walls and shattered gates. The air was heavy, filled with silence that felt unnatural. Mark's instincts told him danger was near. Then it came. Figures moved from the shadows. Enemy soldiers, their armor dark and sharp, their eyes glowing red. They carried weapons that hissed with deadly energy. The guards raised their blades, and the battle began. Mark fired his weapon with steady aim, striking the nearest foe. He moved with speed despite his injuries, guiding the alien warriors with sharp commands. Stay close. Watch the flanks. Cover her. The princess stood strong, holding a staff that glowed with blue light. Energy pulsed from it, forming shields that blocked enemy shots. Her courage inspired her people, and for the first time, the guards began to fight with unity. The enemy pressed harder, but Mark's mind was sharp. He noticed their pattern, how they circled and struck in waves. He called out, directing the guards to break the circle. With his plan, they pushed back. After long minutes, the last soldier fell. The ruins grew silent again, filled only with the heavy breath of survivors. Mark lowered his weapon, scanning the shadows. That was not all of them, he said. The princess nodded. You are right. There is still more. Deeper in the ruins, they found the truth. Hidden beneath a fallen tower was a machine glowing with red light. It pulsed like a heart, sending signals far into the sky. Mark realized it was a beacon, calling more enemy forces. If left active, it would bring destruction not only to the alien city but to humanity's colony as well. The guards stepped back in fear. The machine was powerful, and they did not know how to stop it. Mark stepped forward. His hands moved across the strange controls, studying the pulses. He remembered his training, how to disrupt energy systems. "I can shut it down," he said firmly. The princess watched him with trust. "Then do it. And this shadow." With steady focus, Mark pressed the right sequence. Sparks flew, the red glow fading. At last, the machine went dark. Silence filled the ruins once more. The guards stared in awe. The human had done what they could not. The princess smiled softly. "You have passed the trial. Now they must believe." Mark exhaled, feeling both relief and weariness. He had proven himself, but he knew this was only the beginning. The ruins lay quiet after the beacon was destroyed. The alien guards stood in silence, their faces caught between disbelief and respect. They had entered the ruins expecting to find death, but they walked out alive because of the human. Mark lowered his weapon, his body aching, but his eyes still sharp. The princess stepped closer, her silver eyes glowing in the fading light. "You did it," she said. "The machine is gone, and the shadow has ended." Mark shook his head. "No. This was only one piece of their plan. They would not leave a single beacon. There must be more, maybe a whole network." The guards exchanged worried glances. One of them spoke quickly in their own language. The princess listened and turned to Mark. "He says our scouts will search again, but they fear the enemy has spread far. If what you say is true, our city may not be safe." Mark thought carefully. "It is not only your city. That beacon was sending signals far away. They might be calling a fleet, one that could attack both your world and the human colony nearby. We are both in danger." The words struck the group like a cold wind. The princess lowered her head for a moment. "Then we must act before it is too late." As they traveled back to the city, Mark noticed a change in the guards. They no longer looked at him with pure suspicion. Their eyes still held doubt, but also something new, reluctant respect. They had seen his courage, and that memory would not vanish easily. By the time they reached the gates, the sun was setting. The alien city glowed with blue and silver lights, the tall towers shining like crystals under the night sky. Citizens gathered as the group returned. Whispers ran through the crowd as they saw the human walking beside the princess. Some bowed, some stared, and others muttered in confusion. Inside the council chamber, the elders listened as the princess spoke. She told them how Mark had led the guards, how he had destroyed the machine, and how his quick mind had saved them all. When she finished, silence filled the room. The eldest counselor finally spoke, his voice deep and slow. The princess translated. "He says you have passed the trial. You have shown strength, but more than that, you have shown will. Yet he asks why. Why would a human risk so much for a people not his own?" Mark stood tall, his voice calm. "Because this fight is not only yours. The enemy does not see humans or aliens. They see targets. If you fall, humanity will be next. We must stand together, or we will both be destroyed." The words carried across the chamber. The counselors looked at one another, whispering in low tones. The eldest raised his hand again, and silence returned. His expression softened slightly. "He says your words carry truth, the princess translated. But trust must grow slowly. They will allow you to stay, but you must keep proving yourself. Mark nodded. He had not expected more. Trust was never given freely. It had to be earned step by step. That night, the princess found him standing on a high balcony overlooking the city. The stars stretched above like endless fire. She stood beside him, her robe moving with the soft wind. "You spoke with courage," she said. "The council listens, but they still fear. My people have never walked with humans. They do not know your heart." Mark looked at her. "Then I will show them. I will keep fighting for both our worlds." For the first time, her lips curved into a faint smile. "You are different from the others. When the blast came, you did not run. You stood." Mark said nothing. He only gazed at the stars, thinking of the colony where his people lived. He thought of the children playing in the fields, the families who had come to this world hoping for peace. If the enemy's fleet arrived, all of it would burn. The next day, scouts returned with grim news. They had found traces of more machines hidden across the land. Each beacon was sending signals into the sky. Together, they could guide an entire enemy fleet straight to the planet. The council called for a gathering. Citizens filled the wide plaza as the news spread. Fear ran through the crowd. Many whispered that war was coming, that their walls would not hold. Mark stepped forward before the council could finish. His voice rang clear, stronger than his tired body should allow. "We cannot wait for them to strike. We must find every beacon and destroy them before the fleet arrives." The people murmured in surprise. The princess raised her staff, and the plaza grew quiet. "The human is right," she said. "We cannot hide. We must fight." The words shocked many, but her voice carried the weight of command. Slowly, the fear in the crowd shifted to determination. That evening, Mark met with the princess and the commanders of her army. They spread maps across a long table, marking the ruins where scouts had seen enemy activity. The beacons were spread wide, each one guarded. The princess pointed at the map. "If even one beacon stands, the fleet will find us. We must strike quickly, before their signal grows stronger." Mark studied the map. "We will need both your warriors and human support. Together, we can strike faster than they expect." The commander frowned. "You speak as if you are one of us. But you are not." Mark met his eyes. "No, I am human. But humans do not walk away from danger. We stand when others fall. And if you allow me, I will stand with you." Silence followed his words. The princess broke it with a firm voice. "He has already proven his courage. We will fight together." That night, Mark prepared for the journey ahead. He cleaned his weapon, checked his armor, and breathed deeply under the alien sky. He knew the path would be long and filled with danger. But he also knew this was more than a battle for survival. This was the beginning of something greater, a bond between two worlds that had never stood as one. As the first light of dawn touched the towers, the princess and her warriors gathered. Mark stood beside them, his heart steady. The hidden threat was spreading, but they would face it together. The trial had given him a place among them, but now the real war was beginning. The morning sun rose over the alien city, painting the towers with silver light. Mark stood with the princess and a team of alien warriors at the main gate. Each warrior carried shining armor and curved weapons of blue steel. Mark held his human rifle, its surface scratched but still strong. His heart was steady. He knew the journey ahead would test not only his strength but also the fragile trust he had earned. The princess lifted her staff, its crystal glowing faintly. Her voice was clear as she spoke to her people who had gathered to watch. We leave to destroy the beacons of the enemy. We leave to protect our world. And we do not walk alone. The human walks with us, for his fight is our fight. The crowd murmured. Some bowed, some whispered doubt, but many raised their hands in quiet respect. Mark saw children staring at him with wide eyes, perhaps seeing hope where their elders saw fear. The gates opened, and the group stepped into the wide plains. The city grew smaller behind them as they walked across fields of silver grass that waved under the wind. Strange beasts with long necks grazed in the distance, lifting their heads to watch the travelers pass. Mark walked at the front with the princess at his side. The warriors followed close, their steps firm but cautious. He could feel their eyes on him, still judging, still unsure. By noon, the heat grew heavy. The land turned rough, filled with broken stone and sharp ridges. The princess moved with calm grace, though the path was difficult. Mark noticed her hands tightening on her staff, yet she never slowed. At one point, they stopped near a fallen pillar of stone. The warriors set up a small camp, placing glowing crystals around them to keep away night creatures. Mark sat on a rock, cleaning his weapon. The princess came beside him, her voice quiet. "They still doubt you," she said. Mark gave a small nod. "I know. Trust is not easy. But on this journey, I will earn it." She looked at him with steady eyes. "You already have mine." Those words gave him strength. The next day, the journey grew harder. They entered a forest where the trees rose like black towers. Their leaves were wide and sharp, and the air was filled with mist. Sounds of unseen creatures echoed around them. The warriors tightened their ranks, and Mark kept his rifle ready. Hours passed before danger came. From the shadows leapt creatures with long limbs and burning red eyes. Their claws struck against armor, and their screams filled the forest. The warriors fought with blades, cutting through the beasts with skill. Mark fired his rifle, each shot echoing loud in the mist. One beast rushed toward the princess. She raised her staff, forming a shield of blue light, but the creature's strength pushed her back. Mark sprang forward, firing at its chest. The beast fell at her feet, smoke rising from its body. The princess looked at him, her breath heavy. "You saved me again." Mark gave a short smile. "It is becoming a habit." The battle ended with the forest floor littered in silence. The warriors gathered, some wounded but alive. They looked at Mark with new respect. One of them, who had doubted him most, touched his chest and bowed his head slightly. No words were spoken, but the meaning was clear. They pressed on until the forest ended. Beyond it stretched the ruins of another old city, broken towers leaning like skeletons against the sky. The air smelled of metal and ash. Mark knew at once this was the place where another beacon was hidden. The princess raised her staff, its light growing brighter as if guiding them. "The enemy is here," she said. The warriors spread out carefully, their eyes sharp. Mark moved with them, checking every shadow. The ruins were too quiet. He had seen traps before in human wars, and his instincts warned him now. Suddenly, the ground shook. Hidden doors opened, and enemy soldiers poured out, their armor black and glowing with red lines. They fired beams of energy that scorched the stone walls. The warriors fought fiercely, but the enemy was strong. Mark shouted commands, guiding them to cover. "Hold the line. Watch the high ground. Protect the princess." His voice carried over the chaos, and they obeyed. The princess stood firm, her staff sending waves of blue energy that shielded the group. But the enemy pressed harder, and more soldiers appeared from the shadows. Mark's mind raced. He saw a weak point in their attack, a narrow alley where their soldiers were thin. "There," he shouted. "Push through that gap." The warriors moved as he said, and the line broke open. Together they forced the enemy back, cutting through with blades and fire. Mark fought at the front, every movement burning with purpose. His rifle ran hot, but he did not stop. At last, the final enemy fell. The ruins fell silent once more, the only sound their heavy breaths. In the center of the broken city stood another beacon. Its red light pulsed against the stone, sending waves of energy into the sky. The princess stepped forward, her face hard with resolve. It must be destroyed. Mark studied the machine. He had seen its design before, similar to the first. He worked quickly, guiding his hands over the controls. Sparks flew, and the light grew unstable. At last, the beacon exploded in a flash of fire and smoke. The warriors shielded their eyes, and when the light cleared, the beacon was gone. Only ashes remained. A cheer rose among the warriors. For the first time, they did not only respect him, they followed him. Their eyes shone with trust. The princess looked at him, her voice steady but warm. "You are not just a guest now. You are one of us." Mark exhaled, his heart heavy but strong. "Then together we will finish this. Every beacon must fall before the fleet arrives." Night came as they camped among the ruins. Fires burned softly, and the warriors shared food. Laughter replaced doubt, and even the silence of the city felt less heavy. The princess sat across from Mark, her eyes catching the firelight. "You are far from your world," she said. "Yet you fight as if this is your home." Mark looked into the flames. "Maybe home is not only where you are born. Maybe it is where you choose to stand." The princess smiled faintly, and the fire crackled between them. Far above, unseen in the stars, the enemy fleet moved closer, following signals that still pulsed from beacons yet untouched. Mark knew the journey was not over. The most dangerous battles were still ahead. But for the first time, he felt that they would not face them as strangers. They would face them as one. The horizon glowed red as the enemy fleet appeared in the sky. Hundreds of ships moved in formation, their engines leaving trails of fire against the blue atmosphere. Mark's heart beat fast, but he did not flinch. The journey to destroy the beacons had brought them here, and now there was no turning back. The princess stood beside him on the highest tower of the city, her silver eyes scanning the incoming ships. The alien warriors lined the streets below, their weapons raised and energy shields glowing. Citizens had been moved to safe zones, yet many stood at a distance, watching the sky with fear and hope intertwined. Mark took a deep breath. "We cannot let them reach the city," he said. "If they land, both our worlds will fall." The princess nodded. "Then we strike now, together." She raised her staff, and waves of blue energy formed barriers across the streets. The alien warriors moved forward with precision, their formations tight and disciplined. Mark ran alongside them, firing his rifle at the closest ships. Energy beams hit the ground, scattering dust and sparks, but he moved without hesitation. The enemy ships released squads of soldiers, descending onto the city with hovering pods. Their armor was dark and jagged, and they fired without mercy. Mark led a team of alien warriors to intercept them, shouting commands and guiding their movements. "Hold the gates. Protect the civilians. Watch the flanks." The battle was fierce. Sparks flew, and the air was filled with shouting, energy blasts, and the roar of engines. The enemy soldiers were skilled, but the humans and aliens fought as one. Mark noticed how the warriors had changed since the first trial. They no longer doubted him. They followed his commands with trust and courage. The princess moved at the front, her staff sending shields that blocked entire squads of attackers. Energy arcs danced across the battlefield, striking enemy soldiers and protecting their lines. Every move she made inspired the warriors, and soon the city streets became a coordinated storm of defense. Mark spotted a group of enemy soldiers attempting to reach the central tower where the city's command center was located. Without hesitation, he sprinted ahead, his rifle blazing. The warriors followed, cutting off the attackers. The princess lifted her staff, forming a wall of blue light that stopped a pod from landing. The enemy leader appeared in a massive black suit, hovering above the battlefield. His eyes glowed red, and his voice boomed in the air, commanding his forces. Mark realized that this battle was not just for the city, it was for both their worlds. If this leader fell, the fleet might lose direction, but if he succeeded, destruction would follow. The princess spoke quickly to Mark. "We must reach him. If we strike together, we can end this." Mark nodded. They moved through the battlefield, dodging energy blasts and fallen debris. The alien warriors cleared their path, creating openings for them. Mark could feel the rhythm of battle, the pulse of strategy and courage. Every step brought them closer to the enemy leader. Finally, they reached the central square. The leader's suit was massive, pulsing with energy. He fired a beam at them, forcing Mark and the princess to dive for cover. Sparks erupted where the beam hit the stone ground. The enemy soldiers formed a protective ring around him. Mark whispered to the princess, "We go together. On my mark." She nodded. "I am ready." Mark took a deep breath and sprinted forward, firing his rifle at the soldiers. Each shot struck with precision, breaking their formation. The princess followed, her staff glowing brighter than ever. She sent waves of energy that pushed back the remaining defenders. The enemy leader roared and fired again, but Mark and the princess timed their attack perfectly. Mark leapt to the side, drawing the leader's attention, while the princess struck with a concentrated beam of blue energy. It hit the leader's suit directly, causing sparks and a loud explosion. The leader staggered, weakened by the combined attack. Mark charged forward, leaping onto the suit and striking its controls with his hands. Sparks flew, and the suit shuddered under the force. The leader tried to retaliate, but the princess sent another wave of energy that immobilized him. Finally, the suit collapsed with a loud crash. The red glow faded, and the remaining enemy soldiers panicked. Seeing their leader defeated, they fled to their ships, which quickly retreated into the sky. The fleet above hesitated, then slowly turned away, realizing their attack had failed. The city was safe. Citizens came out of hiding, cheering for the defenders. The alien warriors lowered their weapons, exhausted but victorious. They looked at Mark with awe and gratitude. He had not only fought bravely, but he had led them to victory when hope seemed distant. The princess stepped forward, her eyes shining. She placed her hand on Mark's shoulder. "You have done more than I could have imagined. You did not just fight for me or my people. You fought for both our worlds. You have earned our trust and respect." Mark felt a mix of exhaustion and pride. He looked at the city, the warriors, and the sky now clear of enemy ships. "We did it together," he said softly. The eldest counselor arrived, his expression serious but calm. He spoke to the crowd, and the princess translated. He says the human has shown courage beyond any test. He has stood with us when others would have fled. He has proven that humans can be allies, protectors, and friends. His name will be remembered in our history. Mark nodded humbly. He had not fought for fame or recognition. He had fought because it was the right thing to do. Yet hearing the council's words filled him with warmth. That night, the city celebrated. Fires burned in the plazas, and music filled the streets. Mark walked beside the princess, watching the people laugh, dance, and cheer. The alien warriors shared stories of the battle, praising his courage. Even those who had doubted him before now looked at him with respect. The princess spoke softly, looking up at the stars. You have changed how my people see humans. You have shown that courage and loyalty know no borders. We are stronger together. Mark smiled faintly, feeling the weight of the day lifting. Then maybe this is just the beginning. We can build something better together. Not just survive, but thrive. The stars above twinkled as if in agreement. For the first time, Mark felt that humanity had truly earned a place among the stars. The enemy was gone, their shadow defeated. Yet he knew that peace required constant vigilance. As the night deepened, Mark stood on a balcony overlooking the city, the princess beside him. He realized that they had faced impossible odds and survived. They had proven that courage, trust, and loyalty could unite worlds. The battle was won, but the bond formed in that fire would last far longer than any war. Mark took a deep breath. Tomorrow, they would rebuild. Tomorrow, they would strengthen the alliance between humans and aliens. And tomorrow, the galaxy would see that when others run, humanity stands. The city was calm the morning after the battle. The air smelled of smoke and flowers from the fields beyond the walls. Citizens walked through the streets, helping repair broken buildings and gathering supplies. The alien warriors patrolled with a sense of pride, their movements confident after the victory. Mark walked among them, noticing the small changes, the way they now looked at him with respect, not suspicion, and the way children followed him with curious eyes. The princess met him at the city gate. Her robe shimmered in the early sun, and her staff glowed softly. She smiled, a faint but genuine expression of relief and pride. The city has survived, she said. Your courage gave us hope, human soldier. You have earned more than trust. You have earned friendship. Mark nodded. I only did what anyone should do. I protect those in danger. I fight when others cannot. That is all. Her smile grew. Then maybe humans are more like my people than I thought. Brave, determined, and loyal. You showed that today. The council gathered in the main plaza to address the citizens. They spoke of the heroism of the warriors, of the princess's courage, and of the human soldier who had stood with them against impossible odds. The crowd cheered loudly when Mark was mentioned. For the first time, he felt truly recognized, not as an outsider, but as someone who belonged among them. After the council meeting, the princess invited Mark to walk with her along the river that flowed through the city. Its waters sparkled like liquid silver under the sunlight. They moved in silence for a while, watching children play and alien birds glide above. You changed how my people see humans, she said quietly. When the enemy attacked, many doubted us, doubted you. But your actions showed them something greater than words. You gave them hope and courage. Mark looked at her. Hope is not just mine to give. It comes from all of us standing together. You trusted me, and your people fought alongside me. That is what made victory possible. She nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the sunlight. True. But still, I cannot forget what you did. You risked your life for me, for our people, for humanity. That is something I will never forget. Mark felt a warmth in his chest. He had fought for many reasons: duty, courage, survival, but the bond he had formed with the princess and her people was now the strongest reason of all. Over the next days, Mark worked with the alien warriors to help rebuild the city. He shared strategies for strengthening defenses, taught human tactics, and helped coordinate patrols. The princess accompanied him, learning how humans approached problem solving and offering guidance in her people's traditions. Together, they formed a new system that combined the best of both worlds. The Alien Council called Mark and the princess to a meeting. We have decided, the eldest counselor said, that humans will now be recognized as allies of our people. We will establish communication with the human colony and form a permanent alliance. Your actions, human, proved that courage and loyalty can unite worlds. Mark bowed slightly. I am honored. We will do everything to ensure this alliance remains strong. The princess smiled. And we will do it together. With the council's blessing, Mark visited the human colony for the first time since arriving on the alien world. The humans there had heard of his bravery and were overjoyed to see him alive. Children crowded around, asking questions about the battles and the aliens. He spoke with patience, sharing lessons of courage, unity, and friendship. The colony leaders listened carefully, realizing that this human soldier had done more than fight a war, he had built a bridge between worlds. Returning to the alien city, Mark and the princess prepared for a celebration. Citizens from all over the city gathered in the central plaza. Lights glowed from towers, fires danced along the streets, and music filled the air. The warriors demonstrated their skills, showing new formations and maneuvers inspired by Mark's strategies. The princess addressed the crowd. Today we celebrate not only victory, but unity. Humans and aliens have stood together, fought together, and proven that courage has no boundaries. We honor the human soldier who risked everything for our people, and we honor the warriors who followed him. The crowd cheered, and Mark felt a deep sense of belonging. The princess joined him, and they watched as the citizens danced and laughed. The alien warriors approached him, bowing in respect. Even those who had doubted him before now recognized him as a leader and a friend. As night fell, Mark and the princess walked to the city walls. The stars above stretched across the sky, endless and bright. Ships from the human colony flew quietly in the distance, signaling the beginning of stronger communication and cooperation. You saved us all, the princess said softly. But more than that, you showed us the future. A future where humans and aliens stand together, where courage and loyalty guide us. Mark smiled faintly. It is only the beginning. We will face challenges, but we will face them together. That is how we survive. That is how we grow. She placed her hand on his shoulder. I believe that. And I believe in you. Mark looked at the stars, thinking of Earth, the human colony, and the alien world he had come to protect. He realized that courage was not just about fighting, it was about standing firm for what is right, inspiring others to follow, and building bonds that last. The city slept peacefully that night, safe under the watch of humans and aliens who now trusted one another. Mark and the princess stood silently, knowing that the battles they had faced were only the start of a new chapter. Together, they had proven that when worlds unite, no enemy could break their resolve. In the morning, Mark would continue training the warriors, strengthening defenses, and teaching strategies. the princess would continue leading her people, guiding them with wisdom and courage. And together, they would ensure that the unity forged in fire would last for generations. Mark felt a quiet pride. He had arrived on this alien world as a stranger, but now he was part of something greater. The human spirit had stood firm, had protected, and had inspired. The alien people had learned to trust, to fight, and to hope. As the first light of dawn touched the city towers, Mark and the princess looked at each other. No words were needed. They had faced impossible odds, forged bonds between worlds, and survived. The galaxy had seen that humanity would not run. Humanity would stand. And now, both worlds would stand together.